Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Now in this video I will be covering existential OCD and how so many people get stuck down that rabbit hole, and me included. I was down there, I was absolutely convinced nothing was real, that I was living in some kind of simulation, and solipsism fears as well, relating to the Truman Show. That's always a good exposure that we set. But that can, if you can watch that film, you can understand how it operates there, where everything's sort of planned out, nothing really matters, that depersonalization, that derealization state. And I was stuck in that, and I deal with many people who were stuck in that as well on coaching calls. So let me explain how the cycle is operating. Let me explain how it's working. Now, with existential, you are going to feel like life is void, like it is meaningless. What's the point? That kind of thinking, completely pointless, right? You're going to feel deflated, you're going to feel demotivated. And this is very, very crafty how it operates with this theme, because it gets into everything with existential. It can be the vastness of the universe, for example. It can be, well, is the person I'm talking to real, right? So even engaging in conversation can be very, very difficult. It can completely destroy via demotivation for career goals, for life goals, for any goal that you set in your life. Is going to look to completely take them away, because it's going to feel like, even if I achieve that goal, what's the point? Because it's not real. So what is the point of going through short-term pain or short-term discipline or short-term, let's say, learning? So let's say you're studying for an exam. Let's say you have to do lots of reading. Let's say you have to just go through some short-term pain and suffering to get that long-term result. That's going to feel completely meaningless. And what is the point of that? Because even when you get to that long-term result, nothing's going to feel real anyway. Okay, so you often then just feel trapped. You feel trapped in your body. You feel trapped in the sensation of nothing being real. You feel trapped around you, meaning that I can't really connect with people. I can't really speak to that person. I can't really connect with this people. What's the point of even having this conversation? What's the point of dating? That's a big one. It gets into dating. What's the point of that? Because you won't have that meaning. You won't have that connection. You won't have that intimate, romantic connection with them, because it gets into that. Okay? So any feeling that you're looking for to have that connection, that relationship, is going to completely numb. That's what it does. It completely numbs those feelings. Anything that you set out to do, it is going to convince you that it's completely meaningless, right? That's what it does. Now, another aspect of how existential works, and this was something that happened with me, and this was a self-neglecting aspect, right? So let me explain. So when I was so fixated on what's the point, nothing's real, I can't ever prove it's real, why even aim for anything in life? Why even aim for recovery? That was another big one. Why even aim to recover? Why even put in recovery work? Even if I want to recover, nothing's going to be real anyway. Okay? But the self-neglecting aspect came from where, what is the point of looking after myself? What is the point of taking care of myself? I.e. eating well, exercising, doing things that I enjoy, setting goals, getting a good job, relationships, pursuing interests and hobbies. I thought, what is the point? Because even if I achieve all those things, I'm still not going to feel real. It is still not going to feel real. My surroundings, my situation is going to feel pointless and meaningless. And because I can never get certainty on that, you just feel completely trapped in the existential loop, in the existential cycle. And that's how it feels. Okay, and that's very difficult to break free from that when you're already stuck in that self-neglecting cycle, because you're so fixated on nothing being real. Even when you're taking the steps to recovery, this is very, very important. Even when you're taking these steps to recovery and get better, remember that is going to feel pointless as well. That is going to feel a total waste of time, because you're going to say, what is the point of trying to put in recovery work? I can't engage with this. I can't get involved in this because nothing is real. Right? You might even be added to the WhatsApp groups, and you're thinking, well, why even engage with these people? Because, they're not real, right? I don't know if they're real. I can't get that certainty. I can't connect with them. I can't relate with them. Nothing matters. And that is how it keeps you trapped in that existential looping cycle, going round and round and round. Okay? It's also going to lead to feelings of depression, hopelessness, because as soon as you wake up in the morning, it's there, right? Well, I've got plans for today, but what's the point of even doing those plans? And then you stop making plans, linking to the self-neglect, the lack of self-care, the lack of self-interest, the lack of other interest. That's a big one as well, the other interest. Let me explain. So let's use the example of sport, right? Now, when I was started existential, and when I was in that loop, in that crisis loop where I was frantically looking for a quick fix and a way out, anything around me, like I said, felt meaningless. So if I was going to a football match, if I was going to a sporting event or music concert, anything that I was doing for enjoyment and excitement and something that I was looking forward to or would have looked forward to or wanted to do, it completely numbed that, right? Meaning that if I'm at this football match, who gives a shit whether we win or not, right? Because I'm so caught up in the vastness of the universe and how small we actually are. I remember it's called the pale blue dot. Now I use that because it's excellent for gratitude, it's excellent to show in the grand scheme of things how nothing really matters and so on. But when I first read about that in about 2020, it was, I remember sort of before COVID, early months 2020, I remember this first latching, I thought, we are so insignificant, we are so irrelevant on this world because of how small we are. I thought, oh right, so anything that I've ever worked for, anything that I ever plan on doing is a waste of time, isn't even worth fulfilling. What is the point? Right? And I say this a lot because I used to say, if you knew me 4 or 5 years ago, all I used to say was, what's the point? It doesn't matter. Right? Imagine being around me. That's quite a depressing thing to be around, isn't it? Because everything that people look forward to, what's the point? Right? I don't ever have that mindset now, of course, because I'm recovered, but I had to get myself out of that negative mindset. But I've got compassion as to why. Because I was stuck in just the nothing's real concept, that nothing felt real. Right? And it's hard to explain this for people that have OCD because people think, well, someone about OCD would say, yeah, but can you just tell it is real? I am real. Hello, I am real. Touch that wall. Well, it's real. It's there. But it's the sensation it gives. It's the realness factor that makes it unreal. Okay? So it's how real it feels, the unrealness. Right? Now, I'm trying to explain this because it's difficult to explain unless you've experienced it. So you are so convinced that no matter what you do, you know full well that the person is there. You can see the person, you can see the individual, right? But the barrier, the mental barrier is that you do not know for sure whether they are real, right? You can look at them, you can high-five them, you can speak to them, but that barrier which then fills you with anxiety and panic and just that DPDR and that depression is that I do not know whether they are real. Right? And then you feel utterly hopeless because everything that you do, every connection that you've got, it gets into everything. Existential OCD for me seeped into everything that I did. Anything that I set for my life, relationships, everything felt completely meaningless because you feel trapped in that cycle. Okay? Putting in recovery work will feel pointless. It will. It will feel, what is the point of working my ass off with my disputing on paper? What is the point of reading The Myth of Self-Esteem? What's the point? It's not going to make any difference. What is the point of doing the exposures? Why work on my life structure? I might as well eat crap, indulge in unhealthy behaviours and addictions, and that's why you've got to be very careful about self-neglect, that lack of self-care, which is an easy trap to fall down, because I totally understand, because you are convinced in that loop, you're so fixated in that loop, you're so fused that nothing matters. It's easy to go down that loop. So be aware of that. You're going to have to try and break free from that with the advice you're given, even with the sensations pumping away, even with the unrealness feeling pumping away, even when it feels so real that it is unreal, or even when that sensation is very, very high. Okay, you're going to have to work on that. Otherwise, there's no progress at all. Don't wait until you suddenly have that connection. Don't wait until you suddenly get certainty on things are real, because you won't get that and you'll be staying stuck, because that feeling doesn't just happen. You have to break that down, which is what I'm going to get onto now, is how we actually overcome this. But in the meantime, when you first take the steps towards existential OCD recovery, you've got to do it anyway, regardless of how you feel. Whether you feel real, unreal, depressed, hopeless, demotivated, deflated, try and take the steps anyway. Otherwise, if you're waiting for a feeling, it will not happen. And ultimately, you will pay the price and not make much progress. Because any short-term discomfort will feel meaningless, because the long-term result will feel pointless as well, right? So you're going to say, why put myself through short-term struggle when the long-term I won't even enjoy that? Okay, so it completely numbs those feelings. That's what it does. Now, with this, because you fixate on needing to know whether it's real, which links into the demand that you need to know whether it's real, that you have to know whether it's real, right? And because you can't know for sure, because there is no 100% answer to that, you can't prove it, nor can you disprove it, you have to roll with the uncertainty, which is very, very important. And you also have to rip apart this main belief. I need to know this is real in order for me to enjoy life. Now, when I say this is real, this could be anything. This could be having the conversation with this person. I need to know they are real. I need to know that I am real. I need to know that my surroundings are real, that I'm going to get some kind of meaningful feeling. I need to know that I'm going to get that in order for me to do it. So you're saying, I need to know this in order for me to get that. Okay, that is what we need to rip apart. Because you are clinging on to that needing to know, OCD numbs everything. And it will convince you that nothing's real, that you're trapped in this vacuum, if you wish, where you can't get out, right? That's how it's going to feel. I remember feeling, especially with this, I remember two things. I'll give you two examples. On a plane, right? Where was I going? I think I was going to Dublin. Yeah, I was going to Dublin on a plane. And I remember this. I remember getting on this plane and everything just felt surreal in a sense of unrealness, right? I walked on the plane and I thought, and this latched quite quickly. It didn't give me much breathing space at all, and it hit me off guard, which is what OCD is looking to do. So it latched very quickly, and all of a sudden, and I was convinced that, well, now that it almost felt like now the feeling was gone. Now the feeling of not knowing whether it's real, because that was so intense in my brain, I now can't enjoy this trip to Dublin. I now can't enjoy anything, right? And it felt particularly bad on this plane, for example, because I felt trapped internally, but also felt trapped physically, because I couldn't run away, I couldn't escape. And obviously it doesn't make any logical sense, because whether you're sat at home on a plane doesn't matter, right? You're still trapped you feel trapped in your own brain. But that psychological fact of I'm trapped on this plane and I can't run away, that probably heightened it. Okay, that probably then why it latched to that and why it felt so real in that moment and why it was very scary. Okay, obviously then I had to ride that out, but you think that back then I was still very new on this journey. So it obviously threw me off guard, it scared me, I was constantly searching for that. I need to know, I need proof, I need evidence that it's real. Obviously never found that, and you never will find that. So over time I had to get used to the uncertainty and drop the need to know. I also remember one time walking into a football match, and as you know me, I love my football, and I remember looking up, it was a really clear day, and I could see the moon, right? I could see the moon, and I had a bit of existential before, like I said, with the trip to Dublin. It was slightly after then, and I remember looking up, and I thought, right, look how small we actually are. So this football match, I remember feeling very triggered at this match, because A, it was a big match, I wanted to enjoy it, but also I thought, well, I can't now enjoy this football match because I am so irrelevant. Even if we score a last-minute goal and everyone's going crazy, it's not really going to matter in the grand scheme of things. And that kind of mindset is why you're going to feel demotivated, deflated and depressed by things, because it's going to take away everything that you like, everything that you enjoy, everything that you want to do is going to completely rip that apart, okay? I remember when it first latched to that. So I had to obviously let that happen at the football match and not go home, obviously, not try and work it out, even though the trigger then, you're then going around in your head trying to work out, trying to get certainty. You're running around frantically like a headless chicken, and need to get an answer, That obviously needs to stop, okay? And then obviously you having this knowledge of watching this video and having one-to-one coaching calls as well, and just becoming more aware of OCD as it comes more out of the dark, you can understand what to do in that situation. But no, you're never going to suddenly feel like it's real. You're never going to suddenly get certainty or clarity on that, okay? So I need to know this is real for me to enjoy my life. And then look how you are catastrophizing not knowing, okay? So look at the demand, I need to know, I must know, I have to know, and then how are you catastrophizing not knowing? How are you catastrophizing uncertainty? Okay, look at your views around uncertainty. That can be changed. Okay, I used to be petrified of uncertainty. Now I like uncertainty. It excites me. It's the spontaneity, right? I don't know what's around the corner. That excites me. Yes, it can be obviously bad things around the corner, but it can also be good things, right? It can also be exciting things. It can also be things that you didn't expect to happen can suddenly happen and shape your life and you to go a different direction or whatever. Okay, so it can change your life for the better. Okay, so look at uncertainty. Like, if I knew, I use sport again because you know I love my sport. If I knew what the score was going to be every time I go to a football match, I think that'd be pretty poor. But that's certainty, right? So the uncertainty of that regard I like because that excites me. I wouldn't go to football if I knew the score. I'd be very boring, right? If I knew what, let's say, where I was going to be in 10 years' time, financially or with a relationship, or just what my plans are in life, what my goals are, that would bore me. If I knew when I was going to die, I just think that'd be quite odd to think if I knew the day that I was going to die, how I was going to die, the method I was going to die. I wouldn't like that, okay? So the uncertainty aspect actually is good there because it spurs me on, it excites me, it keeps me motivated, it keeps me going, okay? Because you don't know what's around the corner. So you can actually use uncertainty to your advantage, okay? And I think that's very good. That's very something to look forward to as such, okay? So yes, think of it like this. How you are catastrophizing not knowing and the dire need to know, okay, the demands around it and the catastrophizing, that is the big one. Plus you have to roll with the uncertainty, like I've said many times, but also roll with the feelings, roll with the unrealness, roll with the not knowing, roll with the meaningless, roll with whatever you do feels totally pointless. You've got to roll with that and you've got to do it anyway. If anything, you've got to do more, because ultimately what I don't want and what you don't want is you not living your life because you need to know if things are real. You've got to go and do it anyway. Because let's look at it like this. Even if things weren't real, why can't you then enjoy life? Right? Even if I wasn't real, listen to me. If I was made up, if I was just popped on this planet and I wasn't real, because you never really know if I was real, how are you going to then, why couldn't you take my advice on board? Whether I'm real or not, why does it matter? Right? If, for example, all your friends and family weren't real. Now, looking back now, it sounds crazy, but I've been through this. I understand how this feels. But someone who's now recovered, it's crazy because you're thinking rationally and plus you see the logic and so on. But you've got to think, even if no one around me was real, why does that mean I can't enjoy my life with them? Well, of course you can. Okay, of course you can try and be happy. Of course you can try and engage in conversation. Of course you can do all the things you would do even if they were real. Right? It's only that concept, that belief in your mind saying, I can't do this if I don't know whether they're real or not. And that is the belief you need to break down. Think about that. If you need help doing that, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. You can get in touch with me, one of the coaches here. So you've got me, I'm Sam. You've got Rob, Nick, Momin and Gemma, and we can help break down your existential OCD fears. Okay? If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and we'll speak again. Bye-bye.